how do I become a parent who will not resort to the cane in the training of my child? And then also preserve the purpose of training of your child. وَالَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا
وَالَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا.
Those servants of God Almighty Allah who are Muslims and have been able to imbibe and have been able to nurture their life with the shadow attribute of God Almighty Allah Ar-Rahman, Ibadur Rahman. Their prayers is that Rabbana Hablana. We cannot do it ourselves unless you bestow it onto us, Ya Allah. Hablana min azwajina wa dhurriyatina qurrata a'yun. Our wives and our children, we want to one day recline and look at them, and there will be smile and wider smiles on our faces when they say, this is my wife, when they say, this is my child. And then God Almighty Allah, the climax and the pinnacle of all that I am doing in my family is that I want us to become model example and leaders for the community of righteous people. Not for the community of the rich people, not for any other community, but I want to become the leader of righteous one. People should look at my family and say, no, we want to, in terms of righteousness, be like A, B, C, D. So the first P of parenting, to be a parent that will be like a Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is number one, learn to be patient. Number two, learn to derive your formula with prayers. Every night when you get up, Rabbana hablana min azwajina wa dhurriyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama rabbi ij'alni muqima as-salati wa min dhurriyyati rabbana wa taqabbal du'a rabbana ighfir li wa liwalida. You keep on reciting and praying for your family, and there shouldn't be a day, a time that you don't pray for your family. Tarbiyah is prayers. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even when the child is in the womb, when the child is giving birth to, wherever Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam sees a child, the first gift is what? Prayers. Parents, in short, let's learn how to pray for our children. It is not only with the cane that we train children. Now the next thing, my dear parents, for you to be like a Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you have to use a tool or nurture what we call attachment between you and the child. Attachment, attention that we need to give to the children in order to be able to train them, or in order to be able to nurture them without cane. That is the A of the parent. Then the next one is also for you to be able to train your children and your family without using the cane. Definitely you yourself should become a role model. لِمَ تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ
يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لِمَ تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ
لِمَ تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Why do you say what you don't do? Long before psychologists told us that children get affected with what you do more than what you say. It is not about what you say. First of all, it is about what you do. Start with nurturing of attachment. That is the concrete, the foundation. And build on that particular attachment with being a role model. That is not enough. The R of a parent, beyond the role model, set what we call rules and regulations. That is not enough. Rules and regulations are theoreticals. If there are no routines within the family to guide you, apply the rules and regulations. That is not enough. You need a vehicle to carry that routines that you set. And the best of all kinds of vehicle to do that for you is Salah. Salah. My dear parents, how do you use Salah to train your child? That will be discussed later on. Aside the R, the next thing is what? Empathetic education. Education. So many of us, we narrow and then we reduce our responsibility as parents in the education of the children to only and only registering the child in the school and handing the child over to the school. Unfortunately, on the day of judgment, that main responsibility is on you as what the parent that God Almighty Allah will ask you. So the E of a parent is for you to take the education itself into your hand. It's for you to be empathetic. Rasulullah says that if you have a child, become a child and play with your child. Empathetic. Be empathetic. Think like a child. Act like a child. Don't talk to your children standing up. Go down or pick the child up like the way Rasulullah will pick Hassan and Hussein and other children to his shoulder to have eye contact to talk to them. Be a child, so be empathetic. Then the next one is nasiha, advice. Advice. How many times do we get time to sit down just like the way God Almighty Allah gave us an example in Surah Al-Luqman to tell you that the most effective tool in tarbiyah or in child upbringing without punishment is for you to sit down and talk to your child and explain, give information, guide the child. Even before the child falls into that particular mistake, you would have guided what? The child. The last letter of being a parent, the T, is that what amount of time do you have for the parenting? Do you have time to eat with your children? Do you have time to pray with your children? Do you have time to read with your children? Do you have time to play with them? To be a parent, that will be like a Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Be patient, be purposeful, and pray. Ensure that you nurture what we call attachment, love, trust between you and the child, care and attention that you should give to what? The child. Then ensure that you be a role model. Ensure that there are rules and regulations that you have already discussed and you keep on discussing with what? The children. There should be routines, timetable and routines, and use salah to control those particular routines. Be empathetic and ensure that you take active role in the education of what? Your child. Nasiha, a prophetic and a Quranic method of what? Training the child. Sit down with what? The child and advise. Last but not the least, know that this is trial. Have time for the children.